Good morning, everybody. I want to remind everyone that we are in the house of the Lord. And no matter how much passion you have within you, please keep it within the confines of acknowledging that this is the house of the Lord, okay? We'd like to thank Pastor for the facilities today and the Wrightwood Coalition for hosting today's forum. I'd like to bring up right now Mr. Derrick Curtis. Want to come up, please? Invitations were extended to both candidates for this opportunity to talk about the issues facing the ward. Right now, Alderman Lane is not here yet, so we are going to proceed with Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, sir.
And you will hear from the constituents in the ward, issues facing the ward, and how you, if elected as alderman, will address those issues. Right now, as far as democracy in Chicago, we're in an unprecedented time. Would you say?
Yes.
Yes, it is. A runoff. A runoff. Never before in history has an incumbent mayor, to my knowledge, an incumbent mayor with a war chest as filled as Mayor Rahm Emanuel has been involved in a runoff. What that spoke to me is that the people are awakening. Would you say? Yes. There needs to be some change. So from a democratic standpoint and being involved in the process, what is democracy? What is democracy? For the people, by the people. It seems that business and lobby interests have been controlling politics, and apathy is the rule of the day for the constituency. Is it time for that to change? Yes. Is it time for that to change? Yes. Thank you. Your presence here today says exactly that. And we want to have a spirited conversation about democracy, what's happening in the 18th Ward. We want to hear from you. The majority of our time today will be spent hearing from you, as we also hear from Mr. Curtis. So our forum today will be conducted in 4 phases. We'll have an opening statement phase where we'll hear from Mr. Curtis, and we'd like for him to talk about himself, give an introduction, and why he feels that he would be a good candidate to serve the 18th Ward. Phase 2 would be the moderator phase, where I will ask questions to Mr. Curtis. Phase 3 will be the audience phase, and we've allotted 40 minutes for that phase. You guys have questions? Yes. Do you guys have questions? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. Okay, thank you. And hopefully we'll feel that. If not, I have more questions to add if you guys don't have the questions to follow up. And then we'll have a closing statement from Mr. Curtis on his vision for the ward once in. So is everybody okay with that? Yes. Great, great. So Mr. Curtis, if you would, please.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I would definitely like to thank everyone for being here. It's an honor for me being here. I've always been a public servant here in the 18th Ward. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Derrick Curtis. I'm the 18th Ward Democratic Committeeman, and for the past 11 years, I've been the 18th Ward Streets and Sanitation Superintendent. I lived in the 18th Ward for 20 years. I've been involved with many projects in the ward. I'm sorry, I can't speak that much. I have a cold. I wish we can get these mics working. And I'm not long-winded either because of my throat. I'm sorry. But if you can't hear me, please ask me to speak a little louder. I've been a resident for 20 years. For the 17 of those 20 years, I worked under the leadership of Alderman Tom Murphy. I am a product of Tom Murphy. My journey started first being a precinct captain for him, for our old alderman, who's a judge now. I've been Cub Scout, Boy Scout Master. I coach Girls Little League. I sponsored Little League, Ashburn Wrightwood Little Leagues at Hayes Park. I sat on 2 local school councils, president for 5 years. Also, I've 2 mentoring groups, one right over here, O'Halloran Park, Men of Action, and also with Illinois National Guard Lincoln Challenge Program. I've been involved in this community. I've been a product of this community for a very long time. I feel that I'm the best candidate because, one, I love people. You have to have a heart to serve people, number one. You have to know the issues. Me being superintendent with Streets and Sand gave me the ability to ride this entire community for the past 11 years and service the people of this ward. And it's, again, it's an honor and a privilege, and it was no one but God that got me to this point where I am today, because I had no endorsements at first. All the money that we raised came from community. It came from you people, and it's a great feeling. And also in the 6-man race, I got more votes than anyone that ran, and I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. You know, we have a format of timing. In Alderman Lane's absence, it doesn't seem like we're going to have to necessarily adhere to some of the time constraints. So, Mr. Curtis, I mentioned democracy earlier. I'd like for you to really explain what democracy is to you and how you will make democracy work in your ward in connecting with the constituency.
Democracy is very important. We need to have people to voice their opinions on everything, and that's going to be my office. I'm definitely going to always listen to your point of view and help me decide on the decisions I make and the votes that I cast. Everything that I do, it will include the people. I'm putting together many committees that's going to help me run this ward. I can't do it on my own. I will need the people of the 18th Ward to help me do that. We don't need any dictatorships. We're tired of being dictated to. Democracy is where we are. Democracy is the 18th Ward.
I'd like for you to go into detail more about some of the plans for connecting with the ward, whether it's through the block clubs, some new strategies on that without, you know, without the precinct captains. I'd like for you to go into more detail about that, because apathy is something that's really impacting the democratic process. And I want to understand how you understand your constituency will make you a better alderman.
Well, one, I do want everyone to understand something that we did get away with was precinct captains, and I do feel that's very important. But we will be connecting with the people in many ways, social media, getting the word out. But it's nothing like someone coming to knock on your door. That's who we were before. 20 years when I got here, it was a great feeling when people knocked on your door to say, "Hey, how you?" Especially when it wasn't election time. How you doing, Miss Fields? What do you need today? What's going on your block? That's very important. That's something that I'm going to bring back. That's something that she got away from and went to city service representatives. But I feel that the best way to make contact with the people is to open the doors. Another thing that I would definitely do, something that she stopped, was having late night hours for the constituents that works every day and get off work maybe 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We used to be open at least one day a week, late hours. Also, we used to have Saturday hours. I don't know if you remember that. The Alderman's office used to be open on Saturdays half a day, maybe 9 to 12. Those are the things that I'm looking to bring back and bring people in the fold with the alderman office, we'll definitely be accessible to the people of the 18th Ward.
Great, thank you so much for that. Effective leadership is necessary in leading any organization or ward. Talk to me about what effective leadership looks like to you and how you will be an effective leader in your position, if elected.
Again, I'm looking to be accessible to the people. I'm looking to walk the neighborhood. I'm looking to sit down on someone's porch and have a conversation. That's who I am. Again, you have to have a heart. You can't think about, I don't know, and like I say, it was a six candidate race. There was a lot of people that ran in this election that really didn't have the best interests of the community. I really don't know exactly where they came from, but you have to have leaders that know how to be followers first. You have to have people that's willing to listen to your needs and your concerns. You have to have people that's willing to listen to your needs and concerns. So that's the type of leader and leadership that I'll bring. I would love to fight for your issues and concern. Downtown don't matter. It doesn't matter at all what's going on downtown. As long as the people stand behind you, we can fight for any issues that come up in the 18th Ward, and I wouldn't be afraid to fight, especially if the people are standing behind me, because strength is in numbers.
Thank you, sir. You talked about your 17-year career in the tutelage under Mr. Murphy. When it comes to leadership, again, being more strategic in what you saw from Mr. Murphy's office, because I heard great things about him as an alderman and definitely as a judge now. What did you learn from his leadership skills that you will employ in your office if elected?
Well, Murphy was a people person. Murphy always took the time out to talk to anyone that wanted to talk to him. He was very accessible. You would all, and we get it all the time. Every time that we're together, people always walking up and saying, "Hey, Tom Murphy, glad to see you. Wish you hadn't left." He always made sure that whoever stopped him, he had time to talk to them. He was never in a rush. He was always, you'll see him riding his bike, walking down the street. He was accessible. He was a people person. I believe that I have those same characters. His goal was one message, one community, and one voice. I'm looking to bring that back. It didn't matter what the race was, black, white, green, yellow, brown. It was one message across the board. He didn't have a meeting for the blacks, then had a meeting for the whites or the Hispanics. It was one message only, and he put that message through. People stood there strong with him, and I'm looking to do those same things.
All right, thank you, sir, for that answer. Another question. What would be your 3 highest priorities for the ward? What do you regard as the most critical issues facing the ward right now?
Oh my God, public safety. Public safety is a huge... Public safety is a huge issue. We're having too many shootings here. Our kids are getting shot. Our kids are dying. We have to save those children. Just yesterday, another kid was shot at 87th and 87th and Kedzie in a phone shop. A few days prior to that, a kid was killed in the alley at 80th and Troy, the Troy Kedzie alley. We have to come together as a people. We have to be that nosy neighbor. At one point, it used to be kids coming from the outside. It's not anymore. It's our kids. It's the people that's living next door to you. We know who these kids are. Again, public safety, I do believe that we need to put more police on the street. I believe in going back to community policing, where you saw the police walking the beats, walking down the streets. We used to have a beat cop. We don't have it anymore. We used to have a bike patrol. We don't have it anymore. You see them downtown. They're almost knocking each other over on every block. We want the police in the neighborhoods. I don't know how many people looked at WTTW. The moderator said, well, the mayor's talking about you need to put 1,000 more police. No, I feel 2,000. Because, for one, the 8th district, the 18th ward is broken up into 2 districts. 6th district, where we are now, is very small, 6th district. I've already spoken with the commander of 8th district, and we're looking to meet and put some things together in place. But my focus and my fight would be trying to do something that the 4 aldermen that compass the 8th district. It was Alderman Murphy, Ed Berg, Zalewski. They tried to break the 8th district up because it's too large. The 8th district goes from Harlem Avenue to Western, as far as 49th and Cicero to 87th Street. If you need a police officer, that police officer, you might need him at 79th and Western, and you might have that beat car at 49th and Pulaski. It's too big. I really feel that we need to fight to break those districts down, to put more police officers in the ward, in that district, in our area. So that's really something that's really passionate with me. I was in narcotics myself for 13 years prior to being superintendent of streets and sand. I really feel that once we combat the public safety issue, because people want to feel safe coming home in the evening time, or going to the store. If public safety is not our priority, the businesses won't come to the ward. People won't take their kids to the parks anymore. So basically, public safety is my #1 concern.
Thank you, thank you. Public safety, you mentioned kids, crime, violence. So is there a correlation there? And what social activities or what strategic activities would you employ in the ward for kids to give them options?
Well, right now, we're putting together, like I say, I've been involved with 2 mentoring groups right here in the ward. We're doing another one that we're starting here now. It will be called Young Men of Empowerment. We're looking to do things like that with the kids. We have to give them other options. We need men to stand up in the community again instead of go in the house right after work. We need men to be out on the street with us to help fight for our community. We have to build relationships with the parks. We have to involve everyone to grab a hold of the kids, because the only thing that they're seeing now is the gangster rap on TV and things like that. I would really would love to see the rappers and things like that come in to help us save our kids, but it's a moneymaker. But we have to save our kids.
Men, you mentioned men, and how influential they are in influencing the lives of youth, especially young men. I'd like to get some strategic points of how you would engage men in this ward. I'd like to get some strategic points of how you would engage men in this ward to help you be an effective alderman. Well,
men would want to do it first. I would definitely, we have a great organization, 18th Ward Democratic Organization. We also have a lot of men that would love to do things like this. We need to bring the men, but again, right now we have to sit down, have other men, bring in men. We have we started also a veterans group that we'll be working with the youth with. We need to involve our men. We need them to stand up and come out and be accountable because they're all our children, regardless of who they belong to. Again, that's something that I would definitely be looking forward to, just bringing men in to help us run this community. And that's it, basically.
What do you feel are resources right now that are available in the ward for youth as to give them alternatives after school?
Honestly, I don't see any resources. They're not being tapped within the ward right now. We do have a lot of community where we had community-based organizations that went defunct. We have to bring those things back. I have the endorsement a couple days ago of every state representative now that's in our district. Our 3 state representatives, and also I'm meeting with a state senator this afternoon. I'm looking for them to help us find resources to help us bring the community back together, rebuild our community-based organizations that will allow us to help the kids here in the community.
My mother used to say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. We know there's a direct correlation between poverty, crime, and the lack of jobs. What would you do along with those social activities to ensure that there are adequate jobs for youth in the ward?
Again, we have to use resource, we have to find resource, we have to work together with every elected official that represents the 18th ward, from the congressmen to the state reps to the state senators. We need using our TIF fund to build and bring jobs. We have to find funds that will allow us to work. The sad thing is, with the state as it is, now, they're cutting everything. We're going to have to fight to bring resources back to the community. I feel that they're cutting some of the wrong things. Children and jobs are #1 concern here. Without jobs, they have nothing else to do. We have to find something for them to do. We have to find vocational workshops, things like that, that would have these kids come in, marching bands. We have to find the interest of those kids to make them want to come in. And again, even with jobs, most of them have a background now. I will be advocating for us to get a program started where we will help those kids with expungements. We don't want them to have records because they won't be able to get jobs. So I'm looking at a lot of avenues to open up that will be available for that.
All right, thank you, sir. You mentioned TIF, and that's directly associated with business.
Yes.
Have you developed relationships with the businesses in the ward, and can you speak to that?
Yes, I have a very good relationship with a lot of businesses in the ward. I do believe in giving back. Every year since I've been committeeman, I've asked the businesses in the ward to help me feed someone that had an hardship, and it's been very successful. One year, last year, I think we fed 150 something families. The year before, we fed 200 families, someone that had hardships, and it was because of the businesses in the ward that helped me do this. I'm looking I'm looking to work with the businesses to help them. Business symposiums we're putting together. I'm looking to put together a businessman association. We used to have one. Looking to do a chamber of commerce. That's very important. We need to use our TIF dollars to do facades to attract more businesses to the ward. We have to find things and hire within the ward. We want also for those businesses to hire within the ward. So those are the things that I'm doing with the businesses. I am looking to work strongly with the businesses because that's our tax base, and we're looking to build it stronger.
All right, thank you. Are you familiar with the Sweet Home Chicago ordinance?
No.
Is anyone in attendance familiar with the Sweet Home Chicago ordinance? No. You should look that up when you get home. The Sweet Home Chicago ordinance is an ordinance that's been enacted relative to affordable housing, and they want to utilize TIF funding for affordable housing throughout Chicago. Some aldermen voted to table it. Some aldermen voted for it. So it would effectively utilize TIF funding to create affordable housing in wards. And I'd like to know what would be your thoughts on affordable home ownership in the ward, especially considering the ward makeup from a housing standpoint. This is a beautiful ward with a lot of single-family housing, but the foreclosure rates have increased. So what would be your plan to address those issues?
I would be looking to fill every house in the 18th ward. I would definitely would be in support of Sweet Home Chicago because again, if those houses are vacant, it serves us no purpose. We have a lot of people move in. We have a lot of hoarders, things like that. We do need affordable housing for everyone. Things we can't control what happened to us in life, but we definitely could help make it better by doing the right things. I do feel that everyone deserves a place to stay. The more people that we have in our homes, the more stable our community be. So that would be my stand on that.
Constituents in the room, apathy, knowledge about what's going on in your ward, being connected to the ward office is just as much your responsibility as it is his to be a responsible alderman if elected. You have to be aware of what's going on in your community, how they're voting. Since Alderman Lane has been in office, who knows how many resolutions or ordinance she has proposed? Who can tell me in the audience, as an engaged citizen in the 18th ward? Who can tell me? I can't see you. This light is blinding me, so please just stand up. Tell me how many? Two?
Chickens and an ice cream truck.
Well,
Can you stand up and tell us that? You like to stand up?
my point is, you have to know, there's been actually about 700 resolutions and/or ordinances proposed since she's been in office. You need to know what they are. So you all have responsibilities too. In this spirited debate, in this interaction between community, alderman, city, you're a stakeholder. You need to tell your neighbors, your business owners, they should be here. They have to be engaged if you're really concerned about the 18th ward. The 18th ward is connected to the 19th ward or the surrounding wards, and we're all Chicago. You have to be actively engaged. We're going to conclude the moderated question portion of this, and I want to open it up for questions from the audience. I'm going to come around. If you could raise your hand if you have a question so that you can speak into the mic. We'll be right over, ma'am.
All right, Derrick, this isn't really working, but I'll speak in it anyway. I heard you say that you would do away with the city service rep program. I would pose to you a suggestion or a question. Would you be willing to augment the, what do they call it, the precinct captain program with the city service rep? Because there are many active city service reps in our ward. I'm one of them. And I constantly work with the Aldermanic office. I pass out literature. There are a lot of things going on, and I've become aware that there are a lot of people that don't know what's going on because this isn't being gotten out. It is a load, and my other part of that is with a precinct captain, that is a tremendous load on them to contact, to go to all those houses. Whereas with a city service rep, you may have 1 or 2 blocks, but they could work together, I would think, to expand, because we need as many people involved in our community as possible. And would you be willing to do that?
All right, it's all about bringing people together. It's all about, I would not stop the city service representatives. They will be working with precinct captains. But I do want to reinstate all the precinct captains in 18th Ward. City service reps are definitely needed because you want to involve everyone. Everyone have something to do. The same as in the organization. Everyone have a place, everyone have a job. You want to utilize anybody that wants to do anything. I would really encourage them. If they can do 1 block, let's do 1 block. If you can do 2 or 3 blocks, do 2 or 3 blocks. But I just feel that, and again, I will definitely work in conjunction with both city service representatives and also precinct captains. Again, I find it more effective that way. Yes, sir.
Hi. I just got a quick question. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, it's not working. Let me speak a little louder. Is there a youth center in the 18th Ward? Is there a recreational center where the youth can go, attend? Do you have a youth center in the 18th Ward?
No, basically, we have the park district that they're utilizing right now. We used to have some youth centers in the 18th Ward. They're no longer there due to maybe grant issues, but we are looking again to work with our state representatives that will help. I do believe that the relationship that she had with some of maybe the state representatives wasn't that well. So I do have a relationship, and I built bridges with people that will help us bring youth centers right here.
Okay, because youth centers are very, very, very important in communities. Absolutely. And they have saved a lot of young lives in these communities where there's so many shootings. My other question is, how would 2,000 more policemen help stop the shootings?
Well, we're not saying that they will stop the shootings because we can't really stop people from doing what they would do, but we can deter. We can't stop anyone that if you're walking in your house, someone just come up and rob you maybe or something like that. But we can address the situation. The more police that you see, the less crime you will see. Again, just like I said, downtown. To me, it makes no sense to have police officers on every corner. What about the neighborhoods? What about the neighborhoods?
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Just a second. What I'd like to do is, we have CAN TV here. For those of you who are comfortable being on TV, I'd like for you to line up here, and you'll come up to the podium to ask your question. Those of you who are comfortable being on CAN TV, if you have a question, if you could come up and line up at this line here. Those who are not comfortable being on TV, just continue to raise your hand. Okay? Now, I feel some good energy in the room now, because I was told that the room was feeling like there needed to be a little bit more excitement. And guess what? Democracy ain't sexy. Democracy is not sexy. It's work. It's commitment. It's your civic responsibility. And you have to pass that on to the youth, right? So it's not sexy. So we're going to work hard to change the ward here. And I have a question coming up from Tanya Trice. Tanya, please come up.
Hi.
Good morning again, everyone. Mr. Curtis, my question to you, there's been a lot of talk in the news lately about pension reform. What is your opinion? Can you hear me? There's been a lot of talk in the news lately about pension reform. What is your position on how we can solve that problem in our city, and do you think a tax increase is inevitable?
I do feel that tax probably will go up. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's something that we need to prioritize our spending, number one. The first, I should have wrote the first part of that question down.
How do you suggest we solve
Stop.
the pension reform problem in the city?
It's one thing that I do, that I love hearing the mayor say. I would love to see a casino come right here to Chicago to help us with our revenue for Chicago. That's one thing that I do like. I feel that that's something that could help us fight. There's no reason why we should go over to another state that's collecting the revenue and fix their problems. If we had a casino here, I would love to see all of that revenue go straight into our pension funds. It's a shame that now people worked all their lives and they get to the finish line and the state and the city saying, hey, guess what, we're broke. So I would love to see, again, like a casino come right here. We get the revenue from that and help stabilize our pension fund.
Thank you. Next question, sir.
No, they were, I'm sorry, they were lining up.
Could I use his mic
I don't
and go
know.
back and forth?
Oh, you have to.
We'll get you next.
Okay, I don't know if anybody can hear me. I don't know if anybody can hear me well. It's kind of hard to talk with this make-believe mic, but my name is Alex Levesque, and I'm from the Automotive Mentoring Group here in Chicago, and we've been involved in the 18th Ward for about 15 years, ever since Alderman Murphy was here. What we are, we're the best kept secret in the ward. Nobody really knows that we're here. And one of the things that we're talking about an awful lot is gang violence in the ward. And a lot of you probably know, and people keep it pretty quiet, that there is an active gang war going on in the ward right now. And what we do with the Automotive Mentoring Group is we have a very interesting mentoring program, and that's one of the things that you talked about. I'm going to get to that question. And with our mentoring program, what we do is we target Chicago gang members. We have a 10,000 square foot warehouse, and we train them how to restore classic cars from 1930 through 1972. So the objective with this mentoring program is to teach them hard transferable skills like welding, automotive painting, automotive upholstery, so that we can A, put them to work, or two, show them how to start their own businesses. And I think that is the really long-term solution in trying to solve the gang problem. I don't believe that the answer is to put more police, because there are already a lot of police here. But that's not going to solve it. 98% of the guys that we deal with don't have fathers in their household, so they need to be trained by men on how to become men so that they can take care of the kids that they already have. So my question, Alderman, is, knowing that this automotive, knowing that this mentoring program is available to you in this ward, how would you use it for its greatest good? Because I'm here today to try to see on how I can save lives and how I can be of service to people, to this community. But of course, when you become alderman, I need your help. So how are you going to do that?
Absolutely, and I need your help, because that's what we want to do. Instead of put a charter school, and this is just something that's in my vision, instead of put a charter school at 87th and Kedzie at the New Luther South, why not we bring your automotive group right in that building? Mm-hmm. Why not, you know? Okay. A lot of vocational training. Why can't we find people to teach our children drum and bugle corps, marching bands? The facility is huge, and that's something that I'm looking to do. I've already met with some people on that issue. We do have to sit down with the Lutheran Synagogue because they haven't sold it yet. But that's something that I would love to see, because a lot of the kids, they don't want to go to school, but they need vocational training. What you're doing is a great job with this. Where's the warehouse?
Right now, we're located at 63rd and Cicero, but we used to be right at 78th and Claremont.
Right. I really would love to see something like that right here sitting in the 18th Ward for our children of the 18th Ward. Again, that's something that I am looking at for the buildings there. And I would love to sit down with you even after this and to discuss that, because there are other mentors, recording studios. I met with a guy a few weeks ago. We have to bring something back here for the kids, and you're right. It's gonna take the men to stand up and be men to help. What is the saying?
Be men.
Be men.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As my father would say, now you're cooking with hot grease. I see there's some excitement in the room. People have questions. And Tanya, my timer, I'm going to need to now incorporate a time limit as we look at, we got about 30 minutes left, so we want to make sure that we have everyone else. And ma'am, I know you didn't want to be on TV, so you're next.
Okay. So I want to address the Sweet Home Chicago ordinance. Every neighborhood, our community has had homes that were vacant. Now someone has rented housing, and we have some concerns about who may be renting these houses because they're bringing elements into the community, into the neighborhood that we're very concerned about. So how do you help us address these people that are renting homes to people who can be problematic?
We used to have a great community-based organization. I remember our Wrightwood neighborhood. This neighborhood, we couldn't even board up homes in the 18th Ward. Again, we do need people to be in these homes, whether it is buying or renting. We have to teach them how to live among us. We have to bring a community letter can come from the Alderman's office to address these issues when people move in. But the main thing is we have to make the person that owns the home accountable for the people who they rent their house to. Yes. And we come after them.
Yes.
Okay, next question back here, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My question is, when these funds come into our ward for big projects, like the school that was built at 77th and Kedzie, the viaduct reconstruction at 79th and Western, there was promised that so many residents from this ward right here would be employed to work on them projects. And I've driven through the projects when they were being built. I didn't see any people that looked like me, maybe one that was a flagger. And I don't know if they were residents, but I looked at the plates. Wisconsin, Indiana, all surrounding communities, no city stickers, so I know they didn't live in Chicago. So what good does it do if we get a TIF grant to build something? Our people are not getting the contracts, we're not getting the jobs. Our youth want to work, they want to learn these trades. They're being blocked. So I would like to see, when you become elected, that if there's a project coming to this ward right here where I live and pay my taxes, I want to see some people that live here work on that project and get a job.
I would just quickly, and I know we don't have a lot of time, I just want to quickly respond to that. One reason for us kind of breaking away from the alderman 3-4 years ago was because of that reason, and that being one of the projects. When that project was put in place and the first day that they cut the ribbon, number one, it's supposed to have relieved the overcrowding at Bowdoin. Number two, it's supposed to have been a community school, and number three, it's supposed to have been built by community hands. Neither three came to fruition. That's one of the reasons. It's supposed to have been 30% of the people worked on that project. We had a board with Alderman Lane to help decide on doing some of these things. Again, we had a board. We find out that basically cutting it real short now, because I see the time going down, she signed off on 2% of the people from the community, and we still didn't get that 2% working on that project. So that was one of our reasons. And when you know better, you do better. So basically we had to pull away, and that was one of my reasons for deciding on running, because it has to be fair, right? For the people down the community.
Thank you. I would like everyone to be mindful in the essence of time. You have 1 minute to ask your question, make your point, ask the question, and then Mr. Curtis, you'll have 2 minutes to respond from here. Sir?
Hi, operating under these new rules, I'll try to speak quickly. Our moderators began the conversation about what democracy was. In the truest sense, if you think about democracy, it's like two wolves and a sheep deciding who they're gonna eat for dinner. Now, if you give that some thought, Derrick, when you go downtown, and the fact that our current alderman is not here speaks volumes. So when you go downtown,
That's the alderman.
oh, thank you. When you go downtown, I know that you'll fight to level the playing field for this ward, in that you're going to be outnumbered down there in terms of the people who are going to be supporting our current mayor. With that being said, the schools that they are closing, one of the largest issues right now with this current mayor is how many schools he's closing. They have sold the fact to us that the schools are failing with No Child Left Behind. They've sold that with a lot of misinformation and a lot of stuff that is not true about your schools. When you close a school down, you don't only close the school, you close that community. You close down dreams for kids in the future. And to fire thousands of minority teachers, and support, and janitors, who they themselves are sending their kids to college to be our future. Can you imagine how many people are not going to college now because of the hundreds of schools that they're closed down? So when you go down there, Derrick, all right, 1 minute, I could go on. But policing, when you fall down, you don't look where you fell, you look where you tripped. So I appreciate what you said about the police force. Well, we also need to get into the homes, to the parents, to block by block, so that we can interact with our kids before they get into trouble. And I'd like to find out how you would support that, and I'll get off it because you want time.
Thank you, sir.
Your question being what, though? Your question.
I think I just wanted to tell you something.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
I've always appreciated him.
And again, if you have conjecture, you have 1 minute, but if you have a question, please get to it, sir.
Well, I'll only be, excuse me, anyway, my name is Mike Williams. I've been knowing Mr. Curtis for quite a while. We worked on the LSC together over at McKay School. And I want to tell you, Mr. Curtis, you did a good job of representing yourself here today. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And my question to you is, how do you feel about our security system that is taking our tax money and we don't see nothing but cars riding around them sitting about right out sleep? Now, I think that is really a disservice that we're getting, but we got people that running this organization lives some white, I'm not being racist, but if some white guy lives out in LaGrange somewhere, is running this organization, give less than a damn about us over here in Marquette Park.
Okay, he's speaking of our SSA. We definitely have to come together. Special service area, we only have one in the 18th ward, and it's only in the Marquette Park area from 71st to 75th, from Bell over to Kedzie. And we have to, again, bring people together that's paying into this SSA to decide on what they want to see. And all of the money that's coming from the SSA don't have to go to the security force. Most of it should be used for beautification. We want to bring 18th Ward used to be one of the top richest communities in the city of Chicago. We want to keep that image. We have to have the people involved to help us with the SSA to decide on what they want, not just let someone else from the outside run their SSA. So I do know exactly what he's talking about. But I need the help of the people that's paying into that SSA.
Ma'am?
Yes. Good morning. I may not need the mic.
It's the TV.
Oh, hi.
TV.
Oh, good morning. I'm Tanya. How are you? I've had the pleasure of working with Derrick, former Alderman Thomas Murphy, as well as the current Alderman for many, many years. What my question is, what's your plan in terms of, besides meeting, what's your plan in terms of economic development using our TIF districts where we know we have the tax base here already? What's your plan to promote a strategy to use current residents in the community to cap those dollars or to take advantage of those dollars? And my second question is, in terms of reducing crime, what's the other alternative, whether it's civic engagement, other than more police on the street? Because I do not believe that police keep our community safe. I believe that the community keeps the community safe. What's your plan?
And the community have to be involved. Again, the best thing is to be that nosy neighbor, right, putting the block clubs together. We used to have very, very strong block clubs, but people started not to care. But I do feel that it's because of the leadership from the Alderman's office and the help that they get for the reasons why a lot of the things are failing within the ward. I also, dealing with the TIF, my thing is to use those TIF dollars to build, after we pay back our tax bonds, we build something that will provide not temporary jobs just for the bill. We need permanent jobs, and I will fight for the people of the 18th Ward to have those permanent jobs within the 18th Ward on the things that we build those TIF dollars with.
Sir?
Good morning. My name is Gerald Williams, and I'm the president of the Dearborn Realtors Board. I was invited this morning by the Wrightwood Coalition, and I don't live in the 18th Ward, but there's two things I want to say, is that I feel like I'm a ward of every ward in this city. I love Chicago. This is my home. So I don't live in a silo. What happens in the 18th Ward affects what happens in the 5th Ward. So that's the way I believe. But my questions, I could have a lot of questions, but because I'm a real estate person, my question to you is, mainly because you did not know about Sweet Home Chicago. I was sitting in the front row. I do know about it. We need to remove the silos with information. And so my question is, would you be willing to work with a national trade association, the Dearborn Realtors Board, that has connections to the state and national implications to eradicate some of the silos in which we operate under? Our communities, all communities, particularly communities of African American populations, are under assault as far as real estate is concerned. It may not feel like it may not look like it, but our communities are under assault. So my question is, I'm extending an olive branch to you. If you're alderman, are you willing to work with us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Brian Parker.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. Brian Park, I'm the principal at Oakdale Christian Academy. Brian Park, I'm the principal at Oakdale Christian Academy. Also a second-degree black belt. I teach martial arts to children and adults. We run a Kings and Queens chess club, and I do a fundamental basketball training program. I heard the lady over here talk about community centers. So my question is simple. When, where, and how do we get a community center for the residents of the 18th Ward? And when you do, would you please give me a call? I have several programs, and we've been doing these programs for the last 15 years, and right now I have to lease space from the Park District in order to run the programs. And what I'm hoping is that we can have something similar to the Kroc Center, where I see a number of children going there. And I posed this question to my 8th graders yesterday. I also teach math. The question is, what do you all want me to say at this forum? And they said, well, you know, Mr. Parker, when we walk, we see liquor stores. You know, we see a lot of churches. We see a lot of cell phone companies, but we don't have community centers. And one young lady, and again, it's a private Christian school. She says, "Well, I have a community center." They say, "Well, you live in Madison, so we're not talking about you. We're talking about the children of Chicago. My children have to get up and." They have to get up, they have to get a ride from their parents to go all the way to the Croc Center. What can we have, when, where, and how?
Bring it up. Testing. Hello? All right, once again, I must need to take a black belt because this guy look good to be a principal, right? Right. Oh my God. But, again, we have 19 acres of school, of a property over there that need to be utilized. And again, I would love to sit down with you.
Next question, Mr. Curtis here, please.
Hi, Derrick. This is Shirley Henderson. And first of all, I want to be happy that, I shouldn't say be happy, but I'm glad that you are running. And I wanted to know, how accessible will you be in the 18th Ward? Now, I know what you've done for me, okay? It started out in 2008. But how accessible will you be for the 18th Ward? And will you also have a voicemail so when someone calls up to the office that someone will get back with them? Because right now, no one gets back with the present alderman.
Not even an email. That's
Thank
right.
you.
I will be 100% accessible as I am as a superintendent. I don't know how many people here, I'm probably one of the only managers in the city of Chicago that gives people my personal cell phone. My personal cell phone number. I will definitely be accessible. Again, I'm looking to engage with people. I love people, and the only way to build this community is bringing everyone together, because that's what's going to make it happen. I'll definitely have my doors open for everyone. Definitely open door policy without saying it. You know, I won't say anything while she's not here. I have an open door policy.
Ms. Williams, how are you today, man?
Good morning, Mr. Curtis.
Good morning.
I was invited here by Mark Buford. Thank you, Mark. I represent one of the small businesses in the ward. I own the Children's Center. We're located at 7956 Southwestern. And I've supported you, Alderman Lane, Alderman Murphy.
All the time. Yes, you have.
I'm always there for you all. I don't really have a question. I have comments. People are asking about youth centers under our current governor. He's only been in office a couple of months, but services for children 6 years old through 12 years old are going to be cut. No more funding for them at all. So before and after care for our older children, that's in the past. That's going to be a thing of the past. We have child care centers in the ward, people who've been in business 20 years who can't pay their bills because the state isn't paying. We've been calling the alderman. I've called from the alderman to the White House. Some people returned my call. President Obama did not return my call, but I tried. I'm just trying to make everyone aware of what's going on with the crisis, because a lot of centers are closing their doors, and from what I understand, the governor says the money will be put back in place so that we can operate through June 30th. But I personally know child care centers who have been affected by this. Ada S. McKinley closed almost 2 years ago. They lost 170 students. None of those children lived in our ward, but they were coming into our community receiving free services. So the child care centers asked Alderman Lane several years ago for a moratorium on opening child care centers because so many were popping up in the ward. I don't know if you remember that, but she didn't, and I support Alderman Lane, but she didn't feel that there was a need for it, and there is. With Chicago Public Schools, one of the first things Rahm Emanuel did, in addition to closing over 50 Chicago Public Schools, he severed the partnerships that we have with child care centers, and 40 centers throughout the city of Chicago, and 25 were on the south side. And many in this ward lost certified Chicago public school teachers because he severed those partnerships. So we lost some really valuable programs, and we just need your support.
We will fight.
Thank you. We have time for a few more questions, sir.
I just come up here to say, you know, I done talk to you, but to get all these young people off KZ and all these, they need to open.
You gotta speak louder, brother.
They need to open Hayes Park back up. You gotta pay for you gotta pay for basketball. That's where everything used to go through with all the young kids. So they don't have nothing else to do but hang on the corner. So that's a start right there. And start bringing some of the fathers to Hayes Park to watch these kids and have basketball tournaments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ma'am?
Real father, real men programs, right? Real father, real men.
Okay. Hi, Committeeman Curtis. How are you? Okay, one of my concerns is infrastructure. And in terms of the incumbent who is not here today, she has in the past selected areas of her pick for infrastructure. So my question to you is, you know, are you going to be transparent with infrastructure? Will the community know what they're getting and when they're getting, or what?
Everyone has to have a piece of the pie. The 18th Ward, yeah. The 18th Ward is huge. $1.3 million is not enough money, especially when you have an alderman that gave back $90,000 of it. It's not enough money. We have to use every resource we have, and personally, myself and my staff, we're going to go out and we're going to view all the streets, all the sidewalks, all of this crap about doing petitions for this, petitions for that. We're going to fix the worst streets and worst sidewalks, and we're going to start with the worst and go with the best. All right?
All right, we have about 4 more questions. We want to make them quick. So these two, and I saw 2 hands up back there. Could you? Okay, we'll be right over. Sir?
Yes.
How are you?
All right, Brother Curtis.
Yes, sir.
My name is Joe Boston. My question is on behalf of my son. My son lives over, are you aware of the condominiums over at Ford City?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a street behind that condominium complex, and there's also a bridge on Pulaski that leads to, okay.
Ford City Drive.
Have you driven back down that?
Absolutely.
My question is, do you have a plan, or what is, how many hurdles do you need to get over to get that street fixed? I've heard about the street is owned by the Ford City Association. Yeah, it might be owned by the association, but residents of this ward use that street going to and from the mall. Do you have any plans, or are you aware of any plans in place to fix that street?
I don't know of any plans to fix that street, but.
And one more.
But. Okay, but that street and bridge is owned by Ford City. The Ford City do have new ownership now, but there's no reason why the street itself, it is governed by the city of Chicago. There's no reason why any one of the aldermen didn't address that with Ford City owners, the past owners or the new owners. That street definitely needs to be done, even if the city did it and charged the Ford City owners for it. But they, and with the bridge, they could tear that down actually. But the Ford City Drive street definitely needs to be redone, and the alderman is basically the mayor of their ward. They can get it done.
And one last question. You got two corners, 83rd and Western, and 87th and Western. Those of us who live on that side of the ward know that when you encounter freight trains, it builds up a bottleneck for 83rd Street. I put in a request to the Alderman's office, number one, Why don't we have a turn signal? You have a turn signal at 83rd and Western for the traffic going east and west, but the traffic on north and south is 99% heavier. That doesn't make sense. And then also at 83rd and Kedzie, you need a turn arrow for the traffic going north and south. Because the bottleneck builds up from Kedzie going back about 4 or 5 blocks during rush hour, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and that's...
Right. And I am aware of those things, but again, that's an Aldermanic issue. And we will address that together.
Okay.
All right.
We have 2 questions over here we want to get to. Sir?
This kind of builds off the infrastructure needs and of those sorts of repaving and sidewalk repair. But there's a legislation called the participatory budgeting. Would you give me your opinions on that? It's a process in which the ward residents make decisions with the alderman on how budgeted money is spent. Would you adopt such legislation?
Yes, I would.
Great question. Great question.
I will include the 18th Ward residents in every decision that I make, and the money that's spent within the 18th Ward.
All right. Okay, this is our last question.
Derrick, I recently came across this community alert. Have you seen this? This is utterly ridiculous. It's you. Want to take it up there to him? Let him see.
Maybe we can put it on camera.
Is there a question with it?
That's
I would
him.
love to see that.
That's him. That's supposedly him. That is ridiculous.
Oh, I seen it. Maybe we can get it in front of the camera.
Where did it come from?
I don't know.
It came from Lane's people. I saw the guy passing it out up there on the food. She's paying them to pass it out.
It's saying something about me being a child molester or something like that. But desperate times call for desperate measures. We need real leadership. Real leadership. I don't know, did she have a question? She's been standing there for a long time. Yeah, I mean, she's been standing there.
We'll get, if she wants to be on TV, we'll get to, we thought you had to go, so, ma'am, come on up.
And then Mike.
Okay. Well, I don't want to be on TV. I just want to be heard. Okay. I'm gonna speak loud. Can y'all hear me? Okay. My name is Yvette. I live in the neighborhood. I live in the 18th Ward. I decided to get involved and to meet Mr. Curtis when I got tired of yelling at my TV. I got tired of just being upset with what was going on. I wanted to get involved. What we're doing here, what you guys are doing, this is wonderful, that we come out and we get involved with what's happening, what's going on. It's not so much of a question, but I just put a suggestion out there that we need, like a young lady had said, about not having accessibility to the office, to the alderman's office, to know what's going on. I want to start a newsletter with you when you win. Okay, to start a newsletter, something, emails, the phones, and we can call and know what's going on every week. You know what's happening in your neighborhood, not just the bad stuff, but the good stuff for your kids. Okay, sit down with them and talk to them about what's going on in the neighborhood so they can be busy and involved. And I'm just saying, I just want to put that out there, something like that is needed because we don't know. I didn't know about the Sweet Home Chicago, program or anything like that. Those things need to be told to our, in our neighborhoods, in our ward, at least weekly. To have something like that, and I wanted to start something like that with you if that was possible when you went.
That would be great.
Okay, great. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Curtis, we know that you're on a serious time restraint. We thank you for coming out, supporting us. We thank you again for coming to our forums, the Wrightwood Coalition Group. Look forward to working with you. And in your absence, we're going to ask Mike Davis to stand for you and ask any additional questions.
I would really appreciate that. It's all about leadership, and again, we're going to build leadership from the people in the 18th Ward right here. Could everyone please give Mike Davis a hand, please? I don't know if that clock is right. I am going to.
It's not.
It's not.
10 minutes slow.
10 minutes. I have a meeting with, I met with the state representatives, gave them my plan, gave them my vision, what I wanted to do for the people of the 18th Ward. I do have a meeting with our senators now because I want to hold them accountable also for new leadership that's coming into the 18th Ward. So I do have a meeting with them and I do want to get an opportunity to give her all of my attention so she can give me hers. Because again, there's a lot of things, a lot of questions that I have for her, and she's been pretty good. I remember with the old alderman, Tom Murphy. I don't know about Alderman Lane, but we need to see some things going on. We need to know when money coming into our ward. So those are the things that I'm going to talk about to the senator, and so I do need to make that meeting. I want to thank Mike for coming on board with me. He's a scholar. I'm glad, he wasn't one of the guys that was putting this ridiculous paper out about me. He stood up like a man and said, hey, I'm going to be a part of the change, and I'm going to stand with you to make a difference in the 18th Ward. So I thank you too, Mike.
Mr. Curtis, before you leave, I wanted to say I was asked to moderate this panel, and I'm a business development executive, and I focus on community solutions, so real estate. And I invited some resources here today that you heard from. That's Alex Levesque with the Automotive Mentoring Group. He's doing awesome work. That's Brian Parker. Brian Parker did his program for 15 years on his own dime. Gerald Williams from the Dearborn Real Estate Board. Tonette Williams, a business owner. These are resources that regardless of who wins this next election for the alderman of the 18th Ward, there are resources available to make change happen in this ward. And we hope that you can tap into them. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark.